All right, today we're diving into a really fascinating and honestly pretty counterintuitive idea from a classic spiritual text. It's a warning about the hidden dangers of the very things we tend to prize the most, our own natural talents.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Is it wrong to enjoy being smart, or graceful, or good-looking, or just, naturally talented at something? I think most of us would say, of course not. What's wrong with that? But the text we're looking at today says, hold on, arguing that this simple joy can actually be a really dangerous spiritual trap.
And that's where this whole concept of the vanity trap comes in. The source we're pulling from frames our natural gifts not as these simple blessings to be celebrated, but as potential snares for the soul if we're not super careful.
So, what are we talking about here exactly? Well, the text has a specific term for them: natural goods. This is basically a catch-all for things like beauty, natural elegance, a quick wit, sharp judgment, all those talents of the mind and body that we might just have, without even trying.
Now here's the core argument from the original text. It warns that people become vain and deceitful when they start rejoicing in these gifts for their own sake, instead of, say, being grateful for where they came from. The whole idea is that these amazing talents can so easily pull our focus away from what really matters.
And look, this isn't some brand new idea. The text even quotes the book of Proverbs to back this up. Grace is deceitful and beauty vain. Wow, that is a powerful line. It suggests that all these external qualities, they're fleeting. They can mislead us, while focusing on a higher spiritual purpose is what actually has lasting value.
Okay, so if this joy is supposedly so dangerous, what does that actually mean? What are the consequences? Well, the text gets really specific, and it lays out 6 distinct spiritual harms that it claims come from being too attached to our gifts.
Yep, it's very precise. Not 5, not 7, 6 principal ways that taking joy in our own talents can actively damage us spiritually. Let's break them down, starting with the first 3.
The first 3 are probably the ones you'd guess. Number 1, vainglory and pride. We start thinking we're better than other people. Number 2 is sensual delight and lust. The pleasure we get from our gifts just becomes the end goal itself. And number 3, a weakness for flattery and deception. We become suckers for empty praise, because, let's be honest, it feels good and feeds that ego.
Now the next 3 are a little more subtle, a bit sneakier. Number 4, our judgment gets dulled. The text says the sheer emotion of this inward joy literally clouds our ability to think clearly. Number 5 is distraction of the mind. We just get preoccupied with these earthly gifts. And finally, number 6, a general spiritual weakness, a kind of lukewarm feeling towards anything higher.
And you can see here, the source text lists these harms right out. It makes a really critical point. These aren't just random problems that pop up. They are seen as the direct, predictable result of putting our joy in ourselves instead of in a higher power. It's cause and effect. And get this, we're not just talking about minor personal character flaws here. The text takes it so much further. It claims this seemingly innocent joy is the obvious source of some of humanity's biggest problems: murders, fortunes being squandered, bitter rivalries, endless quarrels. That is a wild claim when you think about it. Okay, so that's the problem, and yeah, it's a pretty bleak picture, but the text doesn't just leave us there in despair. It also offers a way out, which it calls the path to freedom.
So it really presents us with a very clear choice, a fork in the road for the soul. On one side, joy in our own gifts leads to pride, distraction, weakness, deception. But if you redirect that joy toward a higher source, you get the total opposite: humility, tranquility, freedom, and clarity.
The solution then is something you have to do on purpose. It's a conscious act. It's about actively withdrawing our joy from these natural goods and deliberately placing it somewhere else entirely. It's a total reorientation of where we find our happiness. So what happens if a person actually manages to do this? What does this higher joy even look like? Well, that brings us to our final section. The benefits are described as just profound. Instead of that pride, a person finds real humility and charity. Instead of a scattered, distracted mind, they find a deep tranquility of the soul. The end result is spiritual purity, and maybe most importantly, this incredible freedom of spirit. And I think this quote just nails the whole idea. The point isn't to become cold or detached from people. It's the exact opposite. By not getting tangled up in the flashy but deceptive value of these gifts, a person becomes truly free. Free to love everyone in a much deeper, more authentic, spiritual way.
So let's be really clear here. This is not a call to hate your talents or to pretend you're not smart. The message is all about perspective. It's about seeing these gifts not as your own personal trophies to be polished, but as blessings from a higher source, meant to be used for something way bigger than just your own ego.
And that's what I want to leave you with, really. A question to just kind of sit with. When you look at your own life, your own talents, your abilities, what are the natural goods that you take the most joy in? And is it possible that any of them, even the best parts of you, might actually be a distraction from something even more important? It's a challenging thought, for sure. Thanks for digging into it with me.